places he's played. Legs, easy one for you. The Warriors should let Klay walk.
I'm going to say fiction, and I know that might not be the best answer in terms of from a business standpoint of trying to make this organization relevant around Steph Curry, but I just think some guys, with what they have done for an organization over the course of their career, deserve that right. And now listen, if he wants to leave, that's a totally different conversation. I think the Warriors in that case would acquiesce to him.
Yeah, I don't know. It's always difficult to see these franchise players in different jerseys. But Mike Dunleavy spoke yesterday about Klay Thompson and the possibility of him leaving or bringing him back.
We want him back. I think we said that all along. Hopefully he'll come back. But to say like a guy like Klay Thompson, who's meant so much to this franchise, to completely strip the emotion away from it, I think that's almost impossible. But, you know, this is a business.
Zach, listening to Mike Dunleavy, do you think the Warriors should let Klay Thompson leave?
It sounds like they're emotionally prepared for the possibility. And I think there's some hurt feelings on both sides that need to be mended for this reunion to take place. We're going to know a lot on Friday. June 28th, there's a deadline for Chris Paul's contract to become guaranteed for $30 million or for the Warriors to essentially waive him. In between now and then, the Warriors can work to find trades for Chris Paul that bring back somebody who can help their team. If they bring in another high-priced player, it just becomes financially very difficult for them to keep this whole team together. They don't want to pay this gigantic tax bill for a team that struggles just to make the playoffs. And Klay, look, everybody needs shooting. He can fit anywhere. It's just a matter of, like, who has the money and the means to go get him and give him a role that he wants. I look at Denver, for instance. If Kentavious Caldwell-Pope leaves Denver, is that a fit for Klay Thompson? But they might not be able to get to anything above the little baby mid-level exception, which is $5 million. Is that enough for Klay? What's his priority going to be? Money, winning, going back to Golden State. Romantically, my romantic soul wants these three dudes to play together forever. We don't always get what we want.
Austin, the question about emotion, right? All of these things are personal. They always talk about it's strictly business. How much does emotion play into these negotiations with Klay Thompson?
It plays a big part just due to the history and the success that he's had there in that organization. When you look at someone like Klay and everything that he's been through, the highs, the lows, the slumps, the dynamic performances, he's been through it all there. You know, he obviously unfollowed the Warriors the other day, which was a whole thing within itself. You don't do something without emotionally having, you know.
But that's like a breakup.
No, that's what I'm saying. He feels something. There's something there, obviously. There's obviously dialogue already going on, numbers probably being thrown out there that he's not okay with. He feels, you know, disrespected just by everything that he's probably done for the organization. You could already see even in Dunleavy's tone, they're preparing for the possibility of him possibly leaving. You know, it would be a sad thing to see. I think as a player in today's day who's moved around a lot, I was a journeyman. We see in modern day NBA all these players move around. It is really cool to see a guy play one place his entire career, have rings there. This is a guy who's probably going to have a statue there one day alongside Steph. His jersey definitely would be hung. Hopefully he stays put.
Legs, how does that conversation go when you talk about what Klay has done for the organization and his options he should have?
It's tough because when there are players that have been in this boat before, and it almost feels more like, from the organization standpoint, a career achievement award than it does what you're expecting future production to be, right? And guys sometimes fall into this category because they're in that in-between phase of their games. Problem with Klay right now is like the drop-off was so dramatic in terms of his inability to make shots at that consistent rate that we were used to. That's when the Warriors are starting to wonder about the number. Is he going to be unreasonable about the number or about his role? And if either of those things, like he's holding on to with a great deal of pride, it might force the Warriors' hand in that situation. So I think right now, you're trying to get to a place where I think the mutual respect kicks back in and you can find a number and a role that Klay Thompson's comfortable
From a
with.
roster standpoint, what should the Warriors do to field the best team this year?
Well, look, the bottom line is this. People want to talk about Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors contending. I just don't think that's going to happen if you run it back. I don't think you can run it back with this core and think that that's going to happen in the Western Conference. So you have to build around the margins, Zach, and I don't know what exactly that means and what that looks like, who they get rid of, who they jettison off, what they replace it with to stay competitive around Steph Curry, who's still playing at an elite level.
So our last memory of Klay Thompson is 0 of 10 in a must-win game, right? He did shoot 40% on threes for like the last 40, 50 games of the season. The dude can still shoot. He can't defend like he used to. And here's the reality for the Warriors. As long as Curry is there, they have an obligation to try to win, to try to contend. The question is, does Klay help that goal enough to hold back a little bit Moses Moody and Kuminga and Podziemski and all the players they need to start playing more to transition to the next era? And can you build a championship contending team with Steph and those guys getting more minutes? It's a really hard puzzle to solve, and Klay may not be a part of it anymore, and that's just the reality. We'll see what the money is and how it works, but the dude can still shoot.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And Klay Thompson was such a huge part of the championship run of the Golden State Warriors.
Can you force a trade, right? Can you force a trade as far as, and if he opts into his contract, if we see that happen in the next week, I could see certainly him being traded. I put Golden State up here, just a hypothetical.
Okay.
I'm not breaking news here.
I'm leaning forward,
but
though.
Certainly, how do you opt into your contract and then get to a championship team? Now, there's a lot of math. We don't have enough time to do it on here. But that's what your goal would be if you opt into your contract. It's a lot easier than doing a sign and trade and then ask to be traded, similar to what Chris Paul did back in 2017 when he went to Houston in that trade here. But those are your three options. You resign with the Clippers, but on their terms. You go out and sign with a team like Philadelphia potentially, or you opt in and then ask to be traded.
Well, since you brought up the Golden State Warriors, since you brought them up, let's turn our attention to someone that we know is set to hit the free agency market, and that is Klay Thompson. The four-time champion spent his entire career with Golden State, but he was moved to the bench late in the season for the first time since his rookie year. So Kendrick Perkins, there's so many tax implications, mumbo-jumbo here, but do you think the best course of action for the Warriors is to run it back with Klay, who is 34 years old, or to move on?
To move on. I think it's best for both parties, to be honest with you, Malik. A fresh start for Klay Thompson, a fresh start for the Golden State Warriors. I would like Golden State to go get a guy like Jordan Clarkson, or try to get him, right? Get some more offensive firepower, some more youth in the building, and also build and see what Jonathan Kuminga. We saw him take those steps last year. What is he going to do coming off of offseason and the experience that he got from last season? Is he going to continue to grow and build towards an all-star caliber player?
Zach, what do you think here?
Y'all know me. I'm a romantic. I want to see these three guys, Steph, Klay, and Draymond, play together forever, run in circles around the court. But you know what? Of those three players, we know Steph's not going anywhere. Draymond is a pretty unique piece. He doesn't fit everywhere. Klay Thompson fits anywhere. And there would also be something cool about seeing him say, you know what? I want to prove I can make big shots in another place. I can do it anywhere, and see him have a late career sort of swerve. Look, we don't always get what we want romantically. And we saw Dwayne Wade leave Miami and go to Chicago. We've seen these icons move around every once in a while. Of the three, I think Klay has pathways that could be interesting and kind of cool to watch. So win-win. There's some hard feelings between the Warriors and Klay. I think they need to be mended if he's going to go back.
I thought you were going to hit the Rolling Stones with me there, Zach. I guess not today. Yeah, go ahead, Perk.
Malik, I didn't expect on this Friday to be talking about romance with Zach Lowe.
You know what? The thing about Zach is you never know what is going to come when we are talking about Zach Lowe. But we do know if we're talking about love, what the Warriors love to do, right, is target big game here. So if Klay does decide to go elsewhere, Bobby, I turn to you. What does that open up for Golden State in their heart?
Yeah, I mean, keep an eye on Chris Paul here. Now, here's where Golden State is right now, $174 million. The luxury tax is $171. That dreaded first apron is $178 million. They're nearing that. Chris Paul's date is June 28th. His contract becomes guaranteed. If Chris Paul comes off, now that goes down to $145 million. Now you have the flexibility to potentially go out and make a trade, the ability to go out and aggregate the contract of Andrew Wiggins. Now, if you put Klay Thompson back in and you put him back over, that goes back up to where you're at the luxury tax.
Right.
So Joe Lacob has been on the record saying we want to spend a tax. We don't want to be in the apron here. So keep an eye on Chris Paul. That number coming off, that gives them the flexibility to go out and make a trade this offseason.
Hey, what's up, guys? Jag from Jaggy Sports here. Let's talk about Klay Thompson. Klay Thompson is a free agent and can sign anywhere. He can sign anywhere he wants, whether it be Orlando Magic, San Antonio Spurs, Houston Rockets, Utah Jazz, Detroit Pistons. Why do I bring up all those teams? I'm sure I missed a couple here and there, but those teams can absorb whatever money he's asking for. I'm not talking about like $60 million. I'm talking about like 30, 35. They can absorb that request from Klay Thompson because they have the cap space. And technically you have to spend money and you have to, meet the minimum threshold of the cap space. So they have to spend it. Regardless, they have to spend it. And, why do I bring up Orlando Magic? Everybody asks me, why do I bring up Orlando Magic? Because currently constructed, Orlando Magic needs a shooter. They need a drop-dead shooter, a sharp shooter. And that man right there fits that bill. So, which leads me to talk about the Golden State Warriors and their situation, because as you just saw, Bobby Marks, I love this guy, Bobby Marks broke it down clearly. Chris Paul and the Golden State Warriors. Golden State Warriors have up until June 28th to make a decision whether they want to keep him or not. Obviously, all signs are pointing to you don't want to keep him. You don't want to absorb that contract. So when you get rid of that contract, and I'm not including Klay Thompson in this, you're down to, I think, 145 is what he said. That's pretty fair for Golden State Warriors. But now you got to think of the future, because you want to win a championship. You have the pieces, some of them. You have Steph Curry, Draymond Green, stuff like that. But if you want to win a championship, you got to add a couple of other pieces. Now, rumor has it that Golden State Warriors want KD back. Or they've been contacting Phoenix regarding that. Just talking here and there, nothing like hot rumor or nothing breaking news or anything like that kind of thing. But they're rumored to be targeting KD. They're rumored to be targeting Lauri Markkanen and now Paul George. Will that fit the bill? I don't know, right? But, they want to win another championship, obviously, with that dynasty. Can they get it done? But at the same time, if you ask any Golden State Warriors fan out there, and I'm sure a lot of them love Klay Thompson and they want to see him back. Of course they do, because I know certain individuals that get really, really upset considering all this media buzz about Klay Thompson. You should get rid of him and, you should trade him. He didn't do well last year. He's coming off the bench, yada, yada, yada. He did play some really good games, but then obviously he didn't do too well in some of those other games. Now, what do? Right? You're loyal. I get it. You're loyal to a certain degree. But when this kind of stuff happens and your name is being rumored out there, you kind of want to see what's on the other side. Is the grass greener on the other side? So, it's sad to see this thing go if it is true, because Klay Thompson was such a vital piece for that puzzle in those championship runs. This guy is phenomenal. So he wants to be rewarded for that in a long-term deal like Draymond Green did. But at the same time, Mike Dunleavy said that, hey, you know what, this is a business. We're trying to get under the cap. You're obviously thinking about money and whatnot, but at the end of the day, I gotta ask you guys, do you guys see Klay Thompson moving on, or do you guys see him staying? And if he does move on, where's the best fit? right? Where's the best fit for Klay Thompson, who's a sharpshooter? Never count out anyone just because they had an injury. So he can still get it done. They just need to figure out how. Never, never, never count out this guy. But now you got to think to yourself, is it time to move on? This is going to be one of the hardest breakups known to man if this is actually true. I haven't heard anything as of late. There are rumors out there. It's Orlando Magic are prepared to give him an offer as of July 1st. Warriors can actually negotiate, according to the new CBA rules, they can actually negotiate as of, I don't know, a couple days ago or something. But still, nothing has been done yet. So the Warriors are on the hot seat. Obviously, they got to figure out what to do with Chris Paul. They got to figure out what to do with Klay Thompson. And, you know, if I'm the Warriors, I'm trading Andrew Wiggins and keeping Klay Thompson and letting Chris Paul walk. That's what I'm doing. But hey, I'm just a reporter. I'm just an analyst. You guys tell me what you guys want to see. Do you want to see Klay Thompson move on? Do you want to see him stay? And if he does move on, if he wants to leave, where is the best case scenario for Klay Thompson to end up? Orlando Magic, San Antonio Spurs, Houston Rockets, Utah Jazz, Detroit Pistons, just to name a few. There are rumors it's the Lakers, but I highly doubt that, because Lakers don't really want to spend that much money. That's another topic for another discussion. So leave a comment in the comment section. Tell me what you guys think. Is Klay Thompson officially done in Golden State? Leave a comment in the comment section. Jag from Jaggy Sports.